is Kool Aid McKinstry the best cornerback in the SEC next year? And if he isn't, is it somebody from Auburn by chance?
Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson is me, Jimmy Stein as him. Jimmy, I got to ask you a question.
Shoot.
Our friends over at Locked On Auburn had a whole podcast yesterday. I usually don't steal material from them, or if I ever do, I don't like to give them credit for the fact that I stole it. But look, they were talking about DJ James, who is from the state of Alabama and an Auburn cornerback who transferred in from Oregon. They believe he's better than Kool Aid McKinstry for next year. And I was kind of blown away by the mere mention of it, that the thought would pass through their collective brains. But the more I've looked into it, it's not as crazy as it sounds, though I still vehemently disagree. Please back me up.
Yeah, I'm with you. First of all, I'm going to be biased because, I'm an Alabama guy and sort of not an Auburn guy. So I'm going to be biased. So knowing we would talk about this, I went to an unbiased opinion, and that is of a PFF, Pro Football Focus, who, they're not the ultimate arbiter of things. I sometimes disagree or find hard to believe some of the things that they espouse over there. But per PFF, they did a top 10 cornerbacks returning to college football. Who are the top 10 cornerbacks that are back next season? And they had, and of course, PFF could care less about Alabama Auburn stuff. They had Kool Aid McKinstry number one, the number one cornerback in the country for next season. And that lines up with a lot of things we've seen draft-wise, preseason All-American-wise. So it's not crazy to me that Kool Aid would be number one, PFF. What's interesting is they did not have DJ James in the top 10. They had two Georgia corners, including Bullard, who I think is fantastic, and Marshall from Florida, who's really, really good. They had those guys in the top 10, but no DJ James. So I will say this because I'm really familiar with DJ James. He's from Spanish Fort. He's kind of from my backyard, so I know his game well, and I know him, and I followed his career at Oregon, and then, of course, his transfer to Auburn. He's a good player. He is really good. As a matter of fact, we might be talking about next season. I think it might be fair to say that DJ James might be the best player on Auburn's team. I think that's reasonable, or something that's possible. Auburn's other corner, Nehemiah Pritchett, is a really good player too. And I think Auburn actually might be the strength of their team, maybe the best or one of the best cornerback duos in college football. And together they will form a pretty good unit and something you got to be leery of whenever you play Auburn. But no, I don't buy DJ James as good as Kool Aid. I think Kool Aid is the best cornerback in college football, and he is going to be the highest drafted cornerback out of that draft class.
Yeah, and again, the two of them, my main man, Zach Blackerby, is the host of Locked On Auburn. He's been a guest on this program. He's really good. Zach's really good at what he does, and he had a co-host that particular day, and Lindsey Crosby, I think is his name. And they used Pro Football Focus, a lot of their information, to sort of prop up their argument. And I thought Crosby it was a very Auburn way to say this, and I think it was truly Auburn, where he said, look, if you stack up Kool Aid versus DJ and you ask who's going to have the better year, most everybody's going to bet on Kool Aid, and the odds would favor Kool Aid. But I'm going to bet on DJ because I think that's where the smart money is. And I was like, okay, that's I guess that's fine. Yeah. Look, we are not saying DJ James isn't good. In fact,
no. He's a good player. Real good player.
I like him a lot. I especially like the fact that he's from Alabama, and even more so, just like I said yesterday, talking about Mobile guys, if I think you're a B player, if you're from Mobile, I'm automatically rounding up to a B plus. If I think you're a C player, C plus, A plus, all that, if you're from Mobile, you're going to get extra points from me for that all the time. But I don't think it's really all that particularly close. I will say this: I was a little shocked. The stats and the physical attributes are eerily similar. Kool Aid is listed at 6'1", anywhere from 185 to 190. DJ is 6'1", anywhere from 175 to 185. I mean, it's hard to get exact weights at this point. Both of them had around 35, 36, 37 tackles last year. Kool Aid had a few more individual tackles. Kool Aid had a sack. DJ didn't. They both had one interception. They both had an interception against Little Sisters of the Poor. Alabama was Austin P. And DJ James's was Western Kentucky. Now, here's where the line of demarcation comes in. And I'll say this. The Locked On Auburn guys use this argument that DJ James is better because he's doing what he's doing in a defense that doesn't have as many talented players. That is certainly true, number one. However, I would counter that with Alabama also had to play teams like Tennessee last year. Had Auburn played Tennessee, I bet you all their quarterback stats would have looked worse. Is that fair to say?
Sure. And here's one thing about cornerback stats that are deceiving, and it's going to affect Kool Aid's numbers. I talked about this yesterday on Bama Insider, actually. Kool Aid doesn't get challenged a lot. He didn't get challenged a lot last season. Even with Ricks on the other side during a big chunk of the year, Kool Aid just doesn't get challenged a whole lot. Teams don't go after him because they know how good he is. And DJ James is going to suffer that to some degree as well because he's a good player. So whenever you're a really good corner, teams sometimes just don't challenge that position very much, and it affects your stats because when you're a cornerback and you're assigned to a receiver, how are you going to register a stat if they don't throw the ball at your receiver? First of all, if they throw it and complete it to your receiver, you might get a tackle, but is that a good thing? Probably not, because your guy caught a ball. You could get an interception, which is obviously great, or a pass defended, which is great. But oftentimes, and since you're assigned a receiver, it's hard to get off your receiver and come help out a teammate in terms of tackles and assists. Cornerback's just a weird position statistically is what I'm saying. It's almost like the fewer statistics you have, the better player you are, because your job is just to take a receiver out of the play and make a receiver a non-factor in the offensive play. That's really your job. Your job isn't to, come off your guy and you get too eager to do that. You're going to leave your own guy too soon and give up a big play. So I'm just saying, and next year, an even bigger thing, and Auburn will have this to a degree, not as much as Alabama, I don't think, but I think Tyrion Arnold, who's very likely to be the other corner, he's going to get a ton of balls. Teams are going to go after Tyrion because Tyrion got beat some a year ago, and secondly, you're not going after Kool Aid, and you got to try to make some plays outside. So Tyrion's going to get tested a lot, and I think at Auburn that guy is Pritchett. But Pritchett's more proven. He's an older kid who's played more than Tyrion. And I think Pritchett will hold up pretty good. I think Arnold will hold up fine. But he's going to give up some plays. I mean, it's impossible to just shut down SEC attacks altogether. So I think that's interesting in terms of comparing Kool Aid's numbers and DJ's numbers. If DJ's numbers are a little better than Kool Aid's, my first argument is going to be, well, their teams aren't as scared as DJ. They go after him. And Kool Aid, no one attacks him. So I'm not really sure you can compare numbers. I think the NFL, and since they both have NFL length and NFL athletic ability, is going to be the ultimate arbiter in deciding who's the better player between Kool Aid and DJ James.
And that's where I think the final verdict comes in heavily in favor of Kool Aid. I went through several mock drafts, no fewer than 6 mock drafts for 2024. Yes, they are out there. You just have to do some Googling. And some of them are patently unreliable. There's no doubt. But, it's all about quantity over quality right this minute. Every one of them had Kool Aid in the first round. Some of them had him go, as low as like 24, 25. Some of them had to go as high as 3, 4, or 5.
Wow.
One of them had DJ James towards the tail end of the first round, and then most of them had him anywhere from third round to fifth round. So, and I say most of them because not all of them went that far. A couple of them had him third round to fifth round. So in the end, maybe Kool Aid McKinstry is going to get the Bama bump when it comes to the NFL, but I think that also makes sense. He's probably gotten better coaching. It's hard to argue that he's not gotten better coaching. Auburn was coached by a guy whose body was in Auburn, Alabama, but whose mind and spirit was on the sandy beaches of Mexico. So for the most part, that's where he's been coached. And I think a better argument wouldn't have been, is DJ James better than Kool Aid McKinstry? I think would DJ James start at Alabama opposite Kool Aid McKinstry? I think that's a much better argument. But let's go ahead and talk about FanDuel, Jimmy. FanDuel, I think you got a train coming through, bro.
Man, my new microphone is kick butt.
FanDuel, got to talk about FanDuel. Look, midway point of the NBA season is here. We just had the All-Star game, and now's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, the official sportsbook of the NBA, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bet back if your bet doesn't win. Say that 3 times real fast. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores to threes drained, whatever you want. They got it at FanDuel. And look, you want to go to FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon. You don't want to miss this opportunity for that no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. So many great ways to place your wager at FanDuel. You don't want to miss any of them. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Also want you to go check out Locked On College Basketball. They got college basketball world covered upside down and inside out. And look, they're calling me right now about Locked On College Basketball. They're calling me right this minute. I mean, I can't believe it. They're saying, hey, I'm trying to get on with Locked On College Basketball, but I can't stop listening to y'all. And this person won't quit calling me. Quit calling me right now. Please quit calling me. But he won't do it. He won't do it. But regardless, Jimmy, Locked On College Basketball, go check it out. Now, Jimmy, I got to ask you this question. This was a pretty cool thing from your cohorts over there in On 3. They came up with a question of the old Marvel series, What If? And in fact, they had a little Disney series about it, and it was really good animation, whatever. But what if you could take back one injury that's happened to Alabama in the last, let's call it 12 years? And I'm going to let you go first. I've written down a bunch of them, and I have such mixed emotions all the way around. And while you're talking about what you would pick, I'm going to pick mine and explain why. But I'm going to let you go ahead and pick yours. I know I've put you on the spot.
No, I mean, it's almost an easy answer for me. I say almost easy. When you really start giving it some thought, what's going to cross your mind is, wow, how many of these are there? I mean, there's so many to choose from. And I'm sure you have a list. And I mean, I've thought of Eddie Jackson and Vinny Sinceri actually being lost for the year. I think really affected that next season. That comes to mind. How about this answer? Bryce Young this year. I mean, what would Alabama have been like? I'll get killed for saying this. I think Alabama beats LSU if Bryce Young has a healthy shoulder. I believe that fully. I'm sure LSU fans are like, what? He played. But I believe Alabama beats LSU with a healthy Bryce. J-Mo and Mechie, it goes without saying. But none of those are my answer. My answer is Bo Scarborough in the 2016 national championship game. Look, Bo was healthy and playing in that game. By the way, Bo ended 2016 an elite back. He didn't have a great season. He didn't belong up there in the Derrick Henry, Eddie Lacy, Trent Richardson, Mark Ingram discussion. But down the stretch in 2016, Bo Scarborough was beast, and he was becoming a national thing. And then the national championship, I think off the top of my head, he had over 100 total yards and around 90 yards rushing just midway through the third quarter. And we hadn't even started really running the ball to start using clock and went and in the game, right? And Bo broke his leg. And from that point on, Alabama could not keep the ball, and Clemson kept getting the ball back and scoring. And Alabama's defense got worn out, lost the game at the end. I am 100% convinced myself that had Bo not been injured in that game, Alabama would have more. Alabama really only needed one more first down than they got. That would have been all the clock they needed. And to imply that Bo, who had over 90 yards rushing through 2.5 quarters, wouldn't have found one more first down is nuts. I fully believe. And again, if I sound like Texas talking about Colt McCoy, then so be it. It's not my intention. And it'd be different if Bo was lost before the game started. No, we saw the impact Bo was having on the game when he came out. And I believe Alabama was going to win that 2016 national championship game had Bo not been hurt. So that's my answer. But there's several that would be good answers.
Man, you stole my thunder with the Vinny Sunseri thing, although you might not have meant it in the same light, because I'm pretty sure Vinny Sunseri was hurt during the kick six and would have been the holder for that long kick. And I mean, again, I'm trying not to be all Texas and Colt McCoy here. I feel like we would have had a better shot at stopping Chris Davis with Vinny Sunseri back there. Would he have stopped him? I'm not saying he would have or wouldn't have. I'm saying we damn sure would have had a better shot. So that's because I can't be 100% sure that would have stopped what happened. I'm not going to go with Vinny Sunseri, even though I think that's a good one. Bo Scarborough is an easy one. If Bo Scarborough doesn't get hurt, I feel very, like you said, we had enough of a sample size to see. We probably win that game. And it wasn't like, Colt McCoy happened so early, and Alabama had screwed up in their first two drives so badly, first drive, that you don't really know what would have happened. I mean, that Alabama team was immensely talented in 2009. Here's another couple of answers, and the reason I won't go with either one of these is because I think if either one of them doesn't get hurt, the result is a national championship, and that's Mechie and J-Mo. If Mechie doesn't get hurt in the SEC title game and plays in the national championship, even if J-Mo gets hurt, I think Alabama wins. If J-Mo doesn't get hurt in the national championship game against Georgia, I think Alabama wins. But because I think if either one of them had stayed healthy, we win. I can't choose just one of them. For the career award, I might put Dylan Moses. I mean, this is a guy that just dealt with more injuries, it seemed like, all the time. And then another guy, obviously, would be Tua Tagovailoa. If he doesn't get hurt in the 19 season, does Alabama at least challenge LSU in the playoffs? I think they would have been certainly more of a challenge than anybody else they faced. But here's my answer, and I'm going in the Wayback Machine to 2010. I'm going to go with Mark Barron. If Mark Barron's not hurt, his shoulder is absolutely shot in that Iron Bowl in the comeback. I think we do a much better job of containing Auburn, already up 24-0, and I think we probably go on to win that game. But injuries are part of it. We're not saying that we're not going Colt McCoy on this. We're just playing the what-if game. I mean, this was something that you do during the offseason, and it's just interesting to think about how many close contests there have been where Alabama just had one dude hurt, and it feels like they would have made the difference. I mean, again, I know Texas does the same thing with Colt McCoy, but I do believe there is a difference here, and maybe that is just my complete Bamarism, but I just thought it was a fun exercise because when I started thinking about it, there's so few games, like there's no injury or no extra we could add to the 2019 game against Clemson Santa Clara. They beat our ass 8 ways from Sunday. We couldn't add anybody or subtract anybody in that game that would have changed it. But a lot of our games, if one of our key components had not been hurt, I feel a whole lot better about the game. Anyway,
I'll say this about the 2018 Clemson butt kicking. We did not have our Terrell Lewis was lost, and so was and I think Christian Miller was either lost or maybe it was his first game back or something. But we were missing those guys a big chunk of that season, and
I say lucky them
outside pass rush.
I say lucky them because we would have still gotten our asses beat.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so.
And they just would have been a part of
This
that
does seem like
collective.
injuries have really affected so much of the Saban era. It's unbelievable, all the winning and all the titles. And here we are with these sob stories about how there could have been more. And it's a tribute to Coach Saban and the program.
It is.
That literally there could have been more if not for some bad luck. But hey, Coach Bryant said it, I quote it all the time in just about every speech I've ever given. And, Coach Bryant said it takes two things, schedule luck and injury luck. And we haven't had a ton of it during the Saban diet. We've overcome so much of it. But, boy, it'd be nice. I do think we got a little bit of better schedule luck coming this fall. Last year, the unlucky thing was every good team we played was on the road. I mean, it just all the good teams on our schedule, you had to play them on the road. And, man, there were some good stats yesterday at Bama Insider. Blew me away. It was something I knew. And this might surprise you, Luke, if you didn't see this. It was something I knew without doing the research, but then somebody did the research. I'm like, man, it is just hard to win SEC road games. I bet the SEC road record would be worse than anyone thinks. And I just looked up and did the combined road record last year in the SEC. All road games. This includes non-conference. All record, 34 wins, 30 losses. The whole league was just about 500 and this counts undefeated Georgia and Alabama that's in the New Year's Six and Tennessee was in the New Year's Six. How about this? The SEC had the second worst road record among all conferences, not the Power Five, all conferences. Only Conference USA had a worse road record than the SEC. And none of that is to say that the SEC is weak. Of course not. It's just hard to win SEC games on the road. And that's why SEC second lowest win percentage in road games, in conference road games, only behind Conference USA.
Wow. All right, buddy, let's take a break. When we come back, we're just going to talk a little bit about the update on the Darius Miles situation. So Tuscaloosa News comes out with a report about Darius Miles, made a bit of an update. Apparently he had the gun. He made some kind of comment about there's a bullet ready to be fired. He gives it to the friend. They were in Brandon Miller's car. And as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, God, no. I kind of knew that was the case, but now seeing it all out there, and it's sort of like, why does this have to come out right now? Can we not just table all this till April 9th and just see what happens? But regardless, Miles, it sounds like Miller also here's the positive. It sounds like Miller did all he could to cooperate and be completely honest and forthright with authorities. And I think that's the only way to go. And he did that. And that's why he's in zero trouble at all, even though it apparently was his car. So I'm down with that part. Miles, I feel sorry for him. He's going to hopefully get what he deserves, whatever that is. I feel sorry for the family. Obviously, that goes without saying, that of the family of the young lady who lost her life. That is awful. But now from a Brandon Miller perspective, as somebody said on a text chain we're on, there'll be a lot of questions from NBA scouts about, okay, why were you even remotely in this situation?
Right. Yeah, the NBA is going to have a lot of questions. Now, that is not to say that he's going to tumble from being maybe the third pick in the draft to 24th. Right. And it may not affect it. Look, it's going to be different team to team, but there's just no question. Some teams are going to have more questions than others, and some teams may have an eyebrow raised, and it might cost him. It might falling from third to fifth, from fourth to fifth, from fourth to seventh, third to seventh. Maybe it doesn't cost him a spot at all because the team happening to pick third is like, okay. He answered the questions and we're good with it. And so it might not cost him anything, but it might. He's definitely going to be answering questions about it for sure. Will it cost him even a spot? Maybe not. Probably not. But again, it would be a better situation for him if there were no such questions, because other than this incident, I'm not aware of anything off the court that wouldn't be anything but a plus for him. But this is something he's going to have serious answers for, because he will sit down and interview with probably 10 to 15 teams that will sit him down and have an in-depth private interview. And this is going to be asked about by every team. Why were you there? What happened? Do you own a gun? Had you? I mean, they're going to question about all of his involvement in any serious thing that's ever happened because of this.
There's no question. And in the end, look, it's already happened. So now let's try and silver lining this thing. That I think the way he handled it and the fact that he was completely truthful with authorities is going to be a plus. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not trying to say this is a good thing he went through this. Nobody wants to go through this. What I'm saying is because he had to go through it already, and he has come out of it seemingly unscathed, and is shown to be okay. Look, I wasn't even at the wrong place at the wrong time. I was kind of in the wrong situation at kind of the wrong time for me. And I wasn't even like directly connected to this thing necessarily, but I did everything I was supposed to do. I came out and said exactly what I needed to say and exactly what authorities needed to hear. They verified this. And so I'm in the clear. I think there's a lesson there to be learned that, that's what you need to do. That's the tactics you need to take.
His answer can be as simple as one of my teammates did something terrible and I told on him. I mean, exactly. One of my teammates did something terrible and I told on him. And
I don't even think, told on him is strong. I think it's almost like authorities knew about it. They came to me and I told the truth.
And I told the truth.
It's not like Brandon Miller.
It wasn't like he was covering for him either. He could, it wasn't like he was covering for him. So, and again, I'm not insinuating that Brandon did anything too terrible or
he didn't.
Like you said, just wrong place, wrong time, but he's going to have to answer questions about it. And these NBA teams and NFL teams and Major League Baseball teams, you're talking millions of dollars. Yeah. Hey, if you, Luke, and you probably do, have millions of dollars, and I'm telling you hey, it's a great day to invest in the stock market. You're not going to just pick a stock. You're going to investigate. You're going to look at numbers. You're going to read reviews. You're going to watch one of those channels that I think I get on satellite that I never turn on. You're not just going to pick one. Before you make millions of dollars investment into something, you're thoroughly investigating it. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here. Before an NBA team goes, let's just give this guy $40 million and not ask any questions about his personal life. No, that's not how this works. Before you invest that sort of money in a stock or a business or a human being, you ask a lot of questions.
All right, buddy, that's going to do it for today's podcast. Once again, go check out Locked On College Basketball. And until tomorrow, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.